have surgery as soon as you get there, and I can't give you any more because it'll interfere with the anesthetic that they're going to administer when you have the surgery. And our understanding then and in emergency was this is an extremely grave situation, like having a burst appendix. But if you get right on it and do surgery, 4 weeks, 6 weeks later, you're pretty good shape. 8 to 12 weeks later, and you're good as new, no problem. If you let it go, it's fatal, you know, because of the damage that it does to your insides, which is the infection of peritonitis and the digestive juices messing up your organs. So I was sent from the emergency hospital over to a surgical hospital several blocks away. And unbeknownst to my wife and I, there was no surgeon available at the surgical hospital to do the surgery. So they parked me in a room and left me there for 10 hours. And the doctors in the United States told me that my life expectancy from the beginning of this incident was about 5 hours. So I was in really bad shape.
Yeah, they kept coming in and telling you that it would be soon, and then eventually they said the only doctor there had gone home.
Yeah.
And they couldn't give you any more morphine or any pain reliever because a doctor
I was never given any further medication because only the doctor could prescribe medicine. I was never seen by a doctor from the time I went into that surgical hospital.
So they come in and they say, look, the doctor's gone home, you can't have the surgery today.
Right. This is about 8:30 at night now.
And they leave, the person leaves, and...
Yeah, and I turned to my wife, my wife tells me this was the worst day of her life, too, because here she is watching her husband. She's just losing her husband. My wife was an attorney then.
Yeah.
And she, you know, a woman of some capability and power and influence in the world, and to watch your husband just gradually die in front of your eyes and nobody cares, I said to my wife, it's time for us to say goodbye. And she got up from the chair, which was next to the bed, and she put her arms around me and kissed me and held me. And we told each other how much we loved each other. And every time I go down this road, it makes me sad, but, you know, to say goodbye, I mean, and we knew it was forever. And I knew that when you die, I mean, I knew this absolutely positively, when you die, that's it. There is nothing else. We are this is what I knew, you're a biochemical organism made up of 75 trillion cells or whatever, and when the organism ceases to function, the biochemical, you know, functions begin to fail, and you lose consciousness, and then you're dead, and then your body rots, and that's all there is. And anything that would be left of you would be like maybe your kids or something would remember you for a generation, or maybe if you made something like a bridge or some artwork, you'd be remembered for a little while. But that was it. I mean, I knew that, absolutely. And everybody I knew that. You know, this was a certainty. So when we said goodbye, I was saying goodbye to oblivion. And eventually she was crying so hard she sat back down, and I closed my eyes and went into unconsciousness.
And you, before you went into unconsciousness, you felt a bit of relief, too, that you could escape this horrible pain, and was there a feeling of sort of calm about it as well to you?
I wanted to die because there was, since they said there wasn't going to be a doctor until the next day, and I had felt for many hours like I was dying. And medically, I had good reason to feel that way because I really was dying. And the pain, which had gone from a pain that, I mean, I was a big, strong guy, 38 years old, had played football in high school and stuff like that. This pain threw me down to the ground, kicking and screaming and yelling. And from that point on, it just went worse and worse and worse and worse. I was ready to be out, you know. I was ready to be gone because I can't do this anymore. You know, you can do it for 1 hour or 2 hours or 3 hours, but I was at the point of like close to 10 hours, and I'd had it. So I was ready to go. And so here, you know, people ask me all the time, were you dead? Well, it's an impossible question to answer because I had no medical attention. No one ever took my temperature. Nobody ever put the blood pressure cuff on me or anything. So nobody was examining me. But the fact of the matter was, it's a ridiculous argument. I was dying. As much as anybody can be dying in that state.
So you go into unconsciousness, and then what?
The
shock of your life.
To my complete surprise, I was standing next to the bed that I had been lying in, and there's my wife and I'm standing up, and I know the situation. I'm completely clear about my problem, and I know I have to have surgery, and that I'm sick, and I have a perforated duodenum, and all that stuff. But I feel pretty good. Matter of fact, parts of me feel quite good, better than they've ever felt in my life, really alive. And I try to communicate with my wife, who, it appeared to me, was ignoring me.
You were next to her? You were
I was on the other
level?
side of the bed from her.
Okay.
And I thought she was pretending that she could neither hear me nor see me. Of course, in fact, she couldn't hear me or see me. And then I realized that the bed that I had been in was occupied with a thing. And as I examined the thing, which was covered up to the neck with a sheet, and bent over and looked at the face, which was turned away from me, turned towards my wife, I realized that it looked remarkably like me. Now, this was all very confusing, because how did somebody get in my bed who looked like me? Because it wasn't me, because I was alive. Mm-hmm. And I knew that the thing in the bed was, an inanimate object. Mm-hmm. I knew that about it. And so, you know, part of me was like, that's me, but how could it be me? Because this is impossible. Because
here I am.
Yeah, and so I couldn't figure this out. So I turned to my roommate, who was a 68-year-old, very kind Frenchman by the name of Monsieur Florent, and I yelled and screamed in his face to find an answer to this problem. And he looked through me without blinking or any response at all, just as if I wasn't screaming in his face. Now, I didn't know why my wife would ignore me, but I couldn't figure out why Monsieur Florent would ignore me. I mean, and so I heard people outside the room calling me by name. And so I went over to the doorway of the room, and I said, are you from the doctor? I'm really sick. I have to have surgery. You know, I've been waiting a long time. I'm really in bad shape. And they said things like, we've been waiting for you a long time. It's time for you to go. Hurry up. We can't wait any longer. We know all about you. Let's go. Things like that. So I thought that meant, yes, they were from the doctor to take me to surgery.
And they spoke English, and nobody else was speaking English, too.
Yeah, I thought that was very weird. Because everybody else in the hospital spoke with a very thick French accent, right, or no English at all. But these people were, well, and also I thought, they want me to walk to surgery? You know, but after what I'd experienced in this hospital, okay, it's, you know, it's the way they do things here. So I left the room, and when I left the room, I had a really bad feeling about leaving the room, because the room was bright and clear and light. The room was very bright. There was a lot of light in the room. And the hallway was hazy. It wasn't dark. It was just foggy and hazy and dim and very unclear. But I went with these people, and I had a strong sense that I was leaving that room forever.